everybody. I think this falls under ideas that seemed like a good idea at the time. I've come outside to do something in a slightly different way because I think you're all going to suffer from PowerPoint fatigue at some point. So I've come outside to try and explain a key sociological concept that a few people have asked questions about. So we're going to look at the idea of class. I'm going to try and summarize this in only a few minutes. Okay, I'm going to be as quick as I can because I'm freezing as well. We talk about class all the time. Obviously, class is the key concept for sociologists. We often talk about the relationship between class and life chances, as we do in education and in family as well. So it's important to know what we mean by class, especially the terms working class, middle class, upper class. What exactly does that mean? Now, the classic idea of class in society is that society is broken into three classes: upper, middle, and working. So we're just going to have a quick look at what this means. Now here, I've written this on a bit of paper on the wall. Okay, so we have the upper class. They're the elites. They're the ones who control the majority of power. We have the middle class, those that are working in non-manual work jobs. It's a very large group, includes teachers, doctors, clerical workers, so those who work in offices, for example, and usually those who are better educated. And then we have working down here, and they're usually in traditional working class jobs like in factory work and labouring, and the idea is they have lower levels of education. Now, issues with this, okay? So as you can see here, this middle class group is pretty big. Okay, so that's an issue. All right, it's a very broad group, so the difference between a doctor and someone who's an entry-level clerical worker is quite big, but it doesn't say that on there. They're still classed as middle class. Also, the idea of class in itself is subjective. My idea of what constitutes working class is going to be different from my parents', for example. Okay, so sociologists have naturally wanted to try and come up with a better classification. So in 1911 they came up with the Register's General Scale, and it looks something like this. Okay, and it split class into 6 clear groups. So we had professional and managerial at the start. Those who are accountants, doctors, university lecturers, they're at the top. Then we had intermediate, teachers, pilots, managers. Then class 3, you've got class 3 non-manual, skilled, so police officer, sales rep, secretary. And then you've got, still in 3, but manual skilled, electrician, bus driver, and butcher. My dad was an electrician, fascinating fact. And then you have 4 semi-skilled manual, okay, postal worker, factory worker, etc. And then unskilled manual, cleaner, window cleaner, etc. Now, if you remember, all the time ago, I think it was my first lesson, we talked about the tripartite system, and I gave you those jobs according to you doing the 11 plus. That's the system that I looked at, okay, and that's where I got it from, okay. So, issues with this, well, first of all, it doesn't take into account the changing in the labour market over the last 20 or so years. Now, things like, if you think of the precarious nature of employment, short-term contracts, 0 hours contracts, take your standard delivery driver, where would they fit in this scale? So, there are issues with this as well. So, it's a little bit dated. That said, most occupations do fit in one of these categories, so it still has value. So, we need a new one. So, recently, in the 70s, they came up with a new one, and it looked something like this. This was the new British Class Survey. Okay. Now, look, I've done some colouring. Isn't that good? So they split into 7 groups. Okay. So you have the elite still at the top. Then you have the established middle class, the technical middle class, the new affluent workers, the traditional working class, and emergent service workers and precariat. Okay. Now, the good thing about this scale is precariat. because that takes into account those in precarious jobs, those who are in short-term contracts, those who are 0 hours, for example. So they would fit more down here. So it is a bit more useful. It is hard to make comparisons between them, but in some way that's a good thing. So it's a better scale. Now, it also takes into account a few other things that are very important, such as economic capital. Okay, so not just how your income, the value of your house, and your savings, for example. Cultural capital, which we've talked about. Okay, so that takes that into account as well, and your social capital, your relationship between people. So it is actually looking at other things, not just your job, that constitutes your class status. So when we're talking about class in class, we are working classes still relates to this sort of bottom area. Middle class is still around here, and then you still got your upper class around here. So whatever scale you use, what you have to be aware of is there's still a clear differentiation between working and upper class. So when we talk about working down here, we're talking about this semi-skilled, manual, unskilled, manual, skilled. And even if we're talking about using the classic scale, then we know we've got our working class down here. Now, that's it. Hope it's been useful. If I might do this again sometime because I'm bored. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye.